Hey, hello. Welcome everyone to Dynatrace office hours in January, our first session in 2026. Welcome everyone. Let me say hi here from snowy and ice-cold Vienna. My name is David, joining from the beautiful Vienna office. With me today, I have my colleague Dani, and he's joining us from Barcelona.
Hi, David. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. All
Uh,
right.
are we still allowed to say Happy New Year?
I think it's in the first session of the year we can do it. In the next one, we find another greeting. All right, office hours, Dynatrace office hours for app development. If you've been here before, you know the drill. If you've never been here before, let me explain briefly what you can expect in this session. So, first of all, we're here for any questions that you might have for us. Anything that's on your mind that you did not post on the community forum yet, feel free to post it in the comments wherever you're watching. You can post it on LinkedIn and on the YouTube, and it should be fed to us. We have Carrie in the background helping us navigate comments or questions as they are coming in. But what else we are doing? We are sharing news and releases, latest news about Dynatrace app development, things that are useful to know. We tell you about our newsletter that we have. We go over a couple of interesting questions that we found on the community forum. People ask questions, they get answers either from us, our colleagues, or also from you people. That's always super great when people help out each other. And yeah, this session should get you informed so that you know everything that is worthy to know about app development at Dynatrace. So let's start right off with news and new releases. We have a couple of slides to go through. I hope you'll find this interesting. Again, any questions or so, something unclear, always feel free to drop it in the comments. All right, first thing we want to highlight, a thing that is actually a kind of a gotcha, so to say, if you don't get it or if you miss it. With recent versions of Google Chrome and also Microsoft Edge, you might get the following error that you're seeing on the screen when trying to access your application when you are running the local dev server. So you're starting your local dev server, npx DTApp dev, and then you want to access it in the browser and see what you've developed. But instead of the application, you see this 404, this application doesn't exist error. The error details then also say either the local dev server doesn't exist or it was uninstalled from this environment. And this might be very confusing if you see it for the first time. This is actually coming from a new permission prompt that these browsers implemented. And this prompt is showing up whenever any website wants to make a connection to your local network, so to localhost essentially. The aim of this browser feature is, from a security standpoint, it is to help protect you from cross-site request forgery attacks. Still, it's easy to dismiss a pop-up that you're seeing and you say block accidentally, and then your app simply doesn't load anymore. To fix this, you go to the privacy and security settings for the host where your tenant lives, so your tenant ID.dynatrace.com. Go to the privacy and security settings in your browser and look for the local network access permission. And you probably have accidentally set it to block. You can change it to allow, then it will always go through for this website, or you can change it to ask, and then you will see a pop-up like on the right side. Hey, this website wants to connect to your local network. Do you want to block or allow this? If you block it, you get a 404 error. You can't do the local development, so you need to allow it. Obviously, in terms of Dynatrace app development, it's not a security risk there. In other cases, this is to protect you. We have a troubleshoot app development page on the developer portal. So if you go to the developer.dynatrace.com and type in the search troubleshoot, you will find that page, and it has it listed step by step how you get to this page. All right, so much to security improvements from browsers, which are helpful, but sometimes in the way. A quick update to the documents SDK. So documents are stored in the document service. You can store pretty much anything that you want in a document. Most of the time you use it if your application is generating some user-generated content. We have a guide, for example, that has, as example, a to-do application. So your fictional application might be a to-do list, and then you want to store this. You can store it in a document. In this case, then it would be some JSON structure, but you can pretty much store anything. However, if your application store documents, you might have to do some cleanup, also some maintenance, get rid of old documents, or things like that. And previously, you could not really do that because most document operations were only allowed to be done by the actual owner of the document. So even if you are admin of your tenant, maybe you could not delete it. But now, what is new is all of the endpoints of the documents service can be called with the admin access flag. And if that is possible on the service itself, then it's also possible through the SDK that we provide, which is the client document SDK. So what that means is if you have any maintenance task, any cleanup tasks or so, where you, on behalf of users of your application, want to manipulate documents in any way, for example, delete them for cleanup, you can do so as long as you have the documents admin permission by using that new admin access flag. The whole thing is documented also on the developer portal. If you go to the plan section, and then under plan, we have listed all the platform services that are useful for app development. So you'll find the document service, you'll find, I think, session storage service and so on. But find the document service, and there you will find the appropriate links for this new setting. Yeah, if you've never used documents before, don't have a use case, you won't have a need for that. But if you do, this might be a very, very handy new addition to this service, the SDK. Cool. Then let me check quickly if there are any questions incoming already about this or anything else. No, not yet. Right, let me look ahead. Next is a new guide about URL sharing for Dynatrace apps. This is maybe not the first thing you're thinking about when you're developing an app for Dynatrace. If you have one that's already used by users, you might see that they want to share something they're seeing within that application with their colleagues or someone else, and forward links. It's important that this link sharing works. If we look at this example of the normal Dynatrace platform and offering, for example, a DevOps engineer, he might be looking for some performance issue. He's on the dashboard. He has something filtered. He has a specific service in view, and then he wants to share this with his colleague. And then if the URL sharing is not set up properly, he would have to share the link and then tell the colleague, okay, now apply this filter, please, and select this service and select this time frame. And obviously, that is not a good workflow. So that's a case kind of for proper URL sharing. We have a huge guide for this. We also use it internally, but it's of the same value to you. We are highlighting that it's important to sync the UI and the URL state. So a bidirectional sync, whatever you're seeing in the UI should also be reflected somehow in the URL. So if you forward this URL, the person sees the same UI. We are covering what to include. So for example, time ranges should be included in the URL, so they are reflected after sharing, filters that are applied, views that are open. We're also covering what not to include, so what to exclude, any transient states. So, for example, a pop-up that only shows on hover, you would not want that to show up if you forward the link to a colleague. We'll explain a little bit about the browser history API and best practices around that. There are different functions you can use, the push state and replace state, and depending on what you're trying to do, is it an intentional action or is it maybe a forced redirect? There are recommendations what to use. So if the user uses the back button in the browser, that he ends up in a expected state and not some in-between state that he can't remember being at before. Yes, browser back button we cover, also scroll management. You might be halfway down the page and you want to share this specific view that you're seeing there. So also this we are covering. If you want to improve the shareability, so to say, of your application, check out the URL sharing guide. Sorry, I skipped that too quickly. If the link to this is not yet in the comments, you will find it at the end of the session at the latest. Also, we'll post it on LinkedIn usually after the session is over. Or you go to the developer portal, type in URL sharing, and you will find that page. Good. Then let's go ahead. First completely new guide, and then we have an updated guide. It's kind of related. It's about how to make your application a little bit more usable. In this case, it's about keyboard shortcuts. It's actually quite easy to add keyboard shortcuts in Dynatrace applications, and this guide or guides is actually 3 different ones or combined in the same location. Shows you how to easily implement accessible shortcuts in Dynatrace apps. Why would you want to do that? Obviously, you know it from your own, from other applications, from any Office application or so. Knowing the shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts for operations that you do frequently can increase your productivity significantly. So what are we covering in these guides? For example, you will figure out or be able to find out which modifiers are available, which ones are also recommended per operating system. It's different on OS X from Apple or Windows, for example. Which keys you can use in combination. We share some best practices for planning shortcuts. It's not always like super obvious for what to use a shortcut and for what not. So we explain how you can prioritize where you want to add one and where not. We tell you how to avoid collisions. You'll be able to figure out existing shortcuts that are already there on the platform, so that you're not overwriting those by accident, and how to ensure accessibility. So what you, for example, don't want to do is add lots of shortcuts for mobile views, which would not work. Then we also have instructions on how to display shortcuts via modals and tooltips and help menus, kind of how to onboard your users to the shortcuts that are available in your application. And that will also help you to, for example, figure out which shortcuts exist already. You can display yours next to the global ones. You might know Command K if you're on Apple keyboard at least, to open the platform search. There's a nice overlay that you can look at, listing all the available shortcuts where you can add yours to programmatically. Again, full guide is on the developer portal. If you search for keyboard shortcuts, you will find it there.
Yeah, right. I mean, like in most of apps on the top right corner, there's an interrogation mark icon, and you can show a modal if you click on there that will display all the keyboard shortcuts that application accepts.
Exactly. Under this question mark icon, you would typically also find links to documentation, sometimes a form for feedback that you can use that goes normally directly to the product team. So if you've seen the question mark, never clicked on it, check it out. There are some useful links hidden behind that. All right, thank you for that addition, Dani. And with that, I think I'm also handing over to you for this section here.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, David. So stay tuned because in this quarter, a new major version of Strato Components Preview is coming, version 3.0. And we will share in the chat a link to all the changes that this major version includes a lot, the removal of lots of packages, lots of utils types that are not used. And we want to focus on one of them, which is the conversion utilities package. And for this package, whatever it's being used right now, we are going to move it to the Strato Components Previews chart library. And whatever is not used, we are going to completely remove it. So all these util functions and types that you see on the screen is going to be removed. So if you think that you are using some of those, just ping your product specialist, ping someone from Dynatrace in case you need that function. Otherwise, we'll gonna get rid of it for the sake of simplicity. And yeah, that's it. Many major changes coming soon. So we don't know the release date so far, and it's also not set in stone. All the changes that are on the link that we will share on the chat, but feel free to check it already so you can know in advance what's coming in.
Cool. Then let's look ahead at the data table.
Yeah, another change that happened recently is that we have only one data table again. So remember in the beginning when we started Strato, we had one data table. On version 0.116, we added the data table v2, which was like a complete rebuilding of the original data table. It was such a breaking change that we need to create a new data table. And for some time, both data tables were living together. Data table was already deprecated for a long time. And on version 2.0, the previous major version of Strato, data table was deleted and only data table v2 remain. And right now on the latest version 2.8.0, we renamed this data table v2 back to data table. So we finish the transition from data table to data table v2, keeping the original name in the end. So just this latest change is just about renaming the data table and keeping the functionality of the best data table of the two.
Maybe worth adding, if you did a migration before from data table to data table v2, and your application is working well with data table v2, and then with the next update you realize v2 is not there anymore, you only actually need to rename the class name to data table without the v2. The functionality stays the same. You won't have to update any function calls or so as before. So this is really just a rename and should be very straightforward. Cool. Then next one is about SDK versioning.
Yeah. Okay. This one is not 100% related to developing custom apps, but it is about developers. So as the developer, you might be creating functions on a Notebooks app or on a workflow, and you create them using JavaScript. And within the Dynatrace platform, you might be using an SDK. So for example, in this case, we have the Metrics Client SDK. And from now on, you can also specify which is the version of that SDK that you want to use for this function. So you ensure not breaking the code if there's a breaking change in the future on that SDK, because if you don't specify the version, it will get the latest one, while if you specify it, it will stick to that version. So your workflow will be working in the future without any issue. So just bear in mind that the recommended thing to do from now on is specifying the version of your SDK, so you are not vulnerable to breaking changes, and your function keeps working the same as it did when you developed it.
Correct. If you've never had a workflow or a notebook that uses an ad hoc function like this, you might be a little bit confused maybe. How it looks like in the UI is essentially you have a text input box where you can copy paste code. So it's not the full application. So you also don't have a package JSON file, for example, that keeps track of your versions and specifies specific versions. And this is a workaround for this limitation, so to say. It's not a full app, but kind of a code snippet, so to say, that you add to the UI. All right. So a couple of updates we had from functionality updates or updates on the developer portal, new and updated guides. How would you keep up to date with this or be informed if you're not joining the office hours live? You could follow the developer newsletter. So this is another channel where we're sharing news and highlights like this. So, for example, for the latest one that we shared in December, you would also see that we already there talked about the Strata Components Preview 3.0 release, for example, or the admin access in the Documents SDK. So whatever is new, we share there. In the upcoming one, you might also see a couple of things that we talked about today. So developer newsletter, it lives on our community page. I want to quickly show you how this looks like, because also the navigation of the community page changed recently. So the developer newsletter is now part of the product news section. You can get to there by clicking on Learn in the top navigation and then Product News. And then if you want to keep up to date and get email notifications, you can click on this follow button where the arrow with number 3 is, and then you would get an email notification every time a new newsletter is posted. You would also get a notification when a new product announcement is posted, which might be of use to you. All right, so much to news and updates, and now we go into a section where we our Q&A session, more or less, where we can answer any questions that you might have to us, like right now, or that you might have put in the chat already. But what we also always want to do is go over highlights, so to say, or share-worthy things from the developer forum. So developer forum, let me share a similar screenshot as before. It also lives on the community. You probably know it, but also here the place where it lives changed. It's now on the Ask Developer Q&A forum. If you want to keep up to date with all the questions that are incoming there, if you want to be informed what other people are struggling with or want to help out, also here you can click on the follow link. So there are always a couple questions incoming. Some are very specific to a user's problem, and some are interesting for others to share. And today we picked 3 that Dani will walk us through, and we hope you can also learn something from that.
Yeah, first of all, if you have any question from what we said or any new topic, just feel free to bring it in the chat and we can discuss it. And yeah, we have some questions that we gathered from the forum that we believe it might be interesting for everyone. And the first one is about calling APIs outside of an SDK. So when you develop custom apps, you are used to call the APIs from Dynatrace using the TypeScript SDKs. And in this case, Jogna Creek actually tried to remove events via the endpoint platform storage record v2 delete execute. And this cannot be accessed through any TypeScript SDK. So he wanted to figure out how she could possibly do it. She or he, I don't know if it's a girl or a boy. And the answer is that you can still call it using a fetch function, and you don't need to worry about authentication anyway. So just by simply doing a fetch within the TypeScript code, being either on your app UI or the app function, you will be able to call that API without using any of the SDK. So this is the workaround whenever there's no TypeScript SDK for your use case, but there's an endpoint for that. And just also bear in mind that you might need the appropriate permissions. In this case, you need permissions to delete records, which is the storage records delete permission scope, that you will need to add it in your app config JSON, and also your user that is accessing the custom app will need to have those permissions as well.
Right. So in theory, you could throw away the SDKs and just use Fetch or some other HTTP client for everything you do with the platform. I would not recommend it. But for a case where something is not covered in the SDK, it's as simple as shown here on the screen.
Yeah, good point. We always recommend using the TypeScript SDKs. That we have many teams of developers that have been working on them for years, and they have a set of utilities and mappings and usability features that are much nicer to use than making your own API calls and processing the data. So always try to use the TypeScript SDKs whenever they are available.
Right. If you end up making such a call from outside of the Dynatrace context, so not within an app or not within an app function, you would additionally also have to take care of authentication yourself. As long as it's called from within the platform, this is kind of abstracted away from you. All right. That was quite simple. Let's have a look at the next one.
So our next user, Andy Carlson, is actually asking if it's possible to customize the browser tab. And this is a very good question. By browser tab, it means like, for example, in Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge or Safari, you have the tabs with all your pages. Like in this case, you can see on the bottom that there's a tab where you have opened the dashboards application within the Dynatrace Playground tenant. And for every app in Dynatrace and for every custom app, the pattern is the same for the tab title. It's the app name, a dash, and the name of the tenant. So as a user, you might be wanting to open multiple dashboards, and once they are open, you want to see in a glance which dashboard. If you don't have the info of the dashboard, for example, the title of the dashboard, to differentiate those tabs, you might be confused and don't know where to go. Or also, Andy Carlson is trying to create a custom app with a similar use case. He wants to have multiple tabs, so the filters are displaying in the title of the tab, so he can differentiate the tabs in a glance and the users of their custom app as well. So currently, this is not possible. The apps are wrapped within the app shell, and the app shell is the one in charge of setting the title. But since we see the potential and the usability of this feature, it's already on the roadmap, so stay tuned. We don't know when it will be released. We cannot promise anything, but just a remark that it's actually in the roadmap.
And I would expect that you would also see it then when you use Dynatrace applications, and can also, like, when you're opening multiple tabs, you would probably see titles that are more easily to distinguish from each other, and then you can also use it in your own applications. If that becomes a real production feature, or when it becomes a production feature, you will probably hear about it from us here, for example, in the office hours, or also in the newsletter. Yes. All right. I think we have one last question that we wanted to go over.
Yeah, this is quite a long question, so I try to sum it up with a very similar use case from the one that the user demanded. So basically, it's a typical use case. So you have a query like time series, response time equals whatever, and then you append another time series. So the result will have two time series, and you want to display those time series in a time series chart. So first, you convert it into time series using the util function that Strato provides, and then you set the time series chart with its UI. And okay, since you have two time series, you set two y-axis components within the time series chart, and you think that this would already work. And what happens is what we see in the following screen is that we have the chart, and we only have one y-axis. Only have the response time y-axis on the left, and only one time series. So what's happening? The request count actually is it on the screen. So the problem is that the units are much smaller than the response times that are from 300 to 100,000. So you cannot see it on this chart unless you hover over it and you see that, yeah, there's like actually a line that you can barely see because of the scale of the chart. So in order to fix this, the solution is very simple. You just need to set a different unit for the other time series. So in this case, the request count time series can use the default unit, which is the count, but the response time series needs to have microseconds, which is the unit that the metric has. So we just set it up like this, as you can see in the green code, and boom, we already have the two y-axis, one in the left, one in the right, with the response time in microseconds and the request count in count unit on the right. So the issue solved like this. Just a reminder that this is a very common question we have, because it's like, hey, I'm running this command in dashboards, this DQL, and it's displayed properly, the units, but when I do it in my custom app, it's not. What's happening? And what's happening is that the dashboard app is already doing a lot of post-processing, not Grail, not the backend side. So in your custom app, you need to do it as well. So it's just the setting of the unit, the part that you are missing in order to display this.
Yes, good. That's a good one to be aware of, because it's also a little bit tricky to debug. If you look at the series that you're getting, you console log them, you will see that they are there, but you can't see them visually. So yeah, if you ever have two time series, think about the unit and the scaling of the different axes. Setting the unit will take care of that for you. Cool. Thank you, Dani, for going over these questions. I hope there was something in there for you, our viewers, to take away with you. We are at the end of our session today. I think we did not get any questions in between, which is all right. You can always go for questions to the developer Q&A forum. You can take your time, formulate it properly, and so on. Put it there. It's either then Dani, me, or a colleague, or maybe someone from the other users helping out. with your app development questions. So check out the forum if you have questions. Obviously, we have the Dynatrace developer docs at developer.dynatrace.com. It's being regularly updated. If, as you've seen today, there are new guides or updated guides coming over and over. So it's worth also revisiting from time to time. Yeah, you can keep yourselves busy, so to say, with these resources. And if you liked today's session, you can also join the next one, where we'll have a similar update in March, Monday.
Which will be already after Perform. Perform
Exactly.
is happening end of the month.
Exactly. We will see what, in terms of app development specifically, will be shared at Perform. If there's anything we can show to you also, we will definitely bring it then to the March session. All right. Oh, there is a question. Let me see how I can see it. Do you have plans to support web on Flutter plugin?
That's a
Do you
good
know
question.
anything about Flutter, Danny?
I know we are hiring React Native and Flutter people, so I think something is going on in there. But if it's about the plugin or not, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I have not heard anything in that direction. Sorry, I can't see the name of the person. Here, Elton. Elton, if it's very important for you to get a concrete answer, if there are plans, please feel free to post it on the forum, because we can ask responsible product people also if it's on the roadmap. Obviously, things that are secret will stay secret. But if it's something that we're planning, and if it's shareable publicly, we can give an update there. That happens from time to time. Okay, yes, Carrie, that is cool if you post the...
Yeah, we'll get you back. We will get back to you with the answer. It might be, but we are not quite sure.
All right. Then I think we can call it an office hour. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your attention. Thank you also, Dani, for helping me share the updates today. Thank you, Carrie, in the background to make sure that we are visible and slides are showing up and everything. Yeah, as said, see you in March. Have a good time until then. Stay healthy. All the best. See ya.
Thank you, David. See you in March.